Hey everybody, this is Claire, and this is Small Joyful Things. As always, I go to thrift stores, or I go to estate sales, or sometimes I buy things from Craigslist, and I'm always looking for kind of things that I know are interesting, or that I think that you would find interesting. And then I bring them home, try to find out as much as I can about them, and then tell you guys about them. And here's what I got today. So I think I've kind of been on a bit of a carnival glass kick lately, but I picked this up and I knew straight away that it was Jeannette, and I was like, oh my god, I really hope it's in good condition. And I did the test, I ran my hands over it and checked for flea bites, for chips, for cracks, that kind of thing, and found that not only is it in perfect condition, I doubt it has even ever been used. It was very dusty on the inside. I have cleaned it since then. So you can see this is quite small. We're just going to measure it up. And it's about 5.5 inches by 3.5 by the highest part, maybe 2.25. There you go. Now, it's actually something worth noting. I think I should probably explain why I'd always try to measure everything, or at least why, I want to give you guys a measurement every time I show something on camera. Part of the reason is that I think that actually having the exact measurement of something can help you identify whether or not it's actually the real thing. It's like, I have noticed that like a lot of the times if I'm looking at things like depression glass, or if I'm looking at like kind of vintage glass, especially things that would have been produced like this in the actual, in a pressed mold or whatever, that usually they have their measurements listed in various reference books. And I found that like, just knowing the exact dimensions of it can help you figure out whether it is actually the real thing, or it's most especially what it actually is. This is especially true in the case of like replacements.com, because I go and refer to them a lot as well. A lot of the times they will list things like the height of a piece, the width of it, or whatever, if it's plate kind of thing, so that you can narrow down like what you're actually looking at. And that's really useful. Let's say, for example, you've got, I did a recent video on the Fire King Fulva dish, the pie plate, and obviously just measuring that, I know that it was like 8 inches across, and then I had to go and look on replacements.com. Did they actually do a pie plate of this width? And it turns out yes, they did. So that's good for me. It's another thing to know. It's another thing that I find important, and I just think it's important anyway, just to kind of have like, I have tiny hands and I'm not sure that I kind of feel it's better just to have a better idea yourself of how big something is, because I don't think you can rely on just looking at my hands. I have tiny hands, trust me. Anyway, so this is Jeannette glass, okay? This is great stuff. This is like real carnival and right out of like the 1950s kind of thing. They were really great. Obviously, they were the famous company for they were famous for doing elegant glass. They did kind of the better version of the glassware of the time, and this is one of their more popular series, and it's called Floragold. And thankfully enough, I've got my wonderful reference book here. I'm getting a lot of mileage out of my reference books now. The Pocket Guide to Depression Glass, the 11th edition. This is another one that I got secondhand. This is obviously the 1920s to the 1960s. I find it's really useful simply because, again, we have photo references, and then obviously they list the pieces and their sizes. Now, obviously we don't have this here, even though you can see that the pattern is the same, even obviously it's quite a bit bigger here. I have been through and researched already about and essentially tracked down exactly what this is. The name of the pattern, if I put it down, Floragold Louisa, iridescent. They did it in shell pink as well, and crystal. I may have seen one or two of the crystal pieces. I vaguely remember the pattern. This is the first time I've actually seen the iridescent one. All the prices here obviously for the iridescence, and what we've got here is candy dish, 5.25 inches long, 4 feet, and back in the 90s, I'm going to say, whenever this was actually published, it was priced at $7.50 US. We don't actually get any more information here itself. It's not like the Indiana book where they give you a little bit of kind of history of the pattern and that kind of thing. No, this is just, here's the name of the pattern, what they actually did it in, listed the pieces, and then Jeannette Glass Company was done in the 1950s. That's, honestly, that's still pretty good. That's a great reference. It's kind of useful for us anyway. definitely gives us something to go on. So this tiny little candy dish, I can just imagine this kind of, you know, sitting on a table or whatever with bonbons or something in it. 4 little feet kind of thing. Now the nice thing about this, by the way, is that there is almost no wear at all. You can see the very tiny little bit there right in the middle of the feet, but it's very, very slight. I have to assume that like this was never used. Now the other thing as well is that this here, that is not actually a crack. That is a manufacturing defect, like the mold. You can see it doesn't actually go through to the other side. There's another kind of a little bit of a bit there as well. That's part of the actual mold of it or whatever like that. That is not a crack. It's just kind of hard to see. This is actually possibly the reason why it was left in the thrift store, to be honest, for just $2, is that they looked at it and thought it was broken. But I mean, I've looked at that and go, no, that's definitely mold weirdness. Wouldn't be the first time as well. But anyway, what have we got for Floragold pattern? Come on. Here. Okay. So Jeannette Floragold. The good news is if you actually want to start collecting this pattern, they did a lot of pieces, as we saw from the list in the book, and those pieces are fabulous. This is really a very small taste of what the actual pattern itself looks like. It really does look like golden glass, gold iridescence. I did the recent video on the Indiana glass, the marigold loganberry bowl. And you can see that that had a lot of kind of just extra flashes of really strong iridescence. This is not the case here. This is really just, is as if someone basically sprayed it down with pure just gold or something like that. It is an amazing effect. This is another case of like, I'm pretty sure that the camera cannot really do justice to the pieces themselves. Like here's a good picture of the actual, like obviously the picture, and you can see that it does shine. It's as if someone kind of electroplated it but didn't go all the way, and you can still see through it. Now, what have we got for prices? And this is the interesting part of it. You can see that the prices are, again, all over the place because there are a lot of different pieces and we're not entirely sure. Like the market's not nailed down, you guess, but you can see a lot of them are actually quite high. Here's one of our little candy dish. Here's 2 of them selling for about $15 a piece. But if we go to eBay, what have we got? Yeah, here's the sold listings. There are 74 just in the last 3 months of Jeannette Floragold. This is very, very popular and apparently still has a very strong market. So what have we actually got listed? We have lots, 300 odd listings. Plenty of little things. There's a little nut, the little nut bowl, and $10 plus your shipping kind of thing. So I think it's a fairly safe assumption I'm going to get my money back on this at least. And if you do actually want to start collecting Jeannette or this particular pattern, you've got a lot of options. You're just going to be obviously paying quite a bit for it. So let's just go to candy dish, because there's enough listings we might be able to nail it down. Yeah, there we go. $10 to $15 Canadian, and say maybe $12 US. It's I gotta try and convert between the two. Yeah, you can see there the shipping is going to be a bit outrageous, obviously, because I'm in Canada. Let's go back again. 2 recent sold. That, who knows, that's a different one. There you go, $12 Canadian plus a ridiculous amount of shipping. I could say that considering that my shipping costs are usually pretty good if I'm selling to the US, I'll probably be able to charge a little bit more, and just, you know, my shipping here is going to be less. But there we go. I'm so glad that I found this. I think this is actually my first piece of what I consider to be proper carnival glass of the era that it was actually supposed to be, when it was actually supposed to be made. I'm still kind of hoping that I'm going to find some really good stuff from like the 1930s when they really did kind of get going. But this is definitely almost as good for now. I think it's absolutely fabulous, and I know that some collector is going to go nuts over it. So this is my small joyful thing for the day. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you guys like it as well. Bye bye.